Hi, my name is Annie Meehan, and I was invited to share a video with you about why I'm writing a book about the three sides to the many sides of adoption. So I myself am a birth mom, so my life has been touched by adoption, and I'm passionate about sharing stories and removing stigma, silence, and shame around unplanned pregnancies, around adoption, foster care, and all the complications that happen in many families, and that if we bring light and love into them, we can offer hope and healing. So as a birth mom, I placed my daughter 32 years ago, and I'm connected with many other birth parents that have placed their children, sometimes by choice and sometimes by circumstance, into foster care or for adoption, placed as young as newborn all the way up into their teenage years. And one thing I find in many of those stories is there's stigma and shame, and often that leads to silence, where people feel like they should not be permitted to share who they are and how many children they've actually had. So what I want to do is write a book and collect stories from all sides of adoption, from the birth parent to the adoptor to the adoptee, shining light and hope and love into this word adoption. And so we create more conversation, connection, and healing for people around adoption. So it becomes an easier, I should say, option for people without all the shame and stigma. We don't give away our children. We place them for adoption in hopes that they have a better life. Some come out of very difficult and challenging circumstances, and just some come from an unplanned pregnancy that the parents didn't feel prepared to raise a child to the best of their ability. Being a mom is the greatest joy of my life, and so I wanted to invite people to share how can we offer healing in this word adoption. But in addition to being a birth mom, just a year ago, I found out that my mother also was a birth mom 59 years ago and placed a daughter for adoption that was never talked about. And when she found us through my sister's DNA, it opened another chapter to adoption, understanding and having compassion for my mom's silence for 59 years and the pain that that caused her. So I have adoption as a birth mom. I have adoption as a sister that I have found and reunited with and have a relationship now. I also was a single mom with a son, and when I met my husband and married, he adopted my son. So adoption has touched my life in many ways. I've met amazing adopters and adoptees and birth parents. And so I'm looking for people that are willing to answer 17 questions about adoption, the best parts, the hardest parts, and tell some of their story. And in a collection of many stories, I intend to create a book called Three of the Many Sides of Adoption. But the other reason this is so important to me is that I was raised by a single mom in the middle of 7 kids. And by the time I was 18, I had moved 83 times, never having a place that felt like was home until I was 28 years old. And I want to offer people the option to open their minds and their hearts to considering adopting a child of any age that might need the stability, security, and parental influence that you can provide. So if you'd be willing to share your stories or story with me, if you would email me at annie@anniemeehan.com with the word adoption in the subject line. In addition to collecting stories, I would love it if any of you would consider donating to the project, as it costs money to produce a book, and that my deep desire is that when the book is done and completed, I would be able to provide a copy of each book to all those that have volunteered to share parts of their story with the book so that they could have that book, that tangible, and hear other people's stories, and ultimately to offer healing and hope, removing the stigma, silence, and shame around unplanned pregnancy and around adoption. Thank you so much for your consideration. I look forward to hearing your stories and encouraging people on their adoption journey. Thanks.